ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of EMERGE Wrestling Showcase. My name is Casey Johnson. Richey Stevens unfortunately has Ebola, so he cannot join us this week. He should be ready, though, for EMERGE 14 Trilogy, which 6 days away at this point. But EMERGE Wrestling Showcase has become important enough to the brand that we got the owner on now.
Yeah, I thought I should make an appearance. Endorse it.
Yeah. How are you today, Dave?
I'm great, thanks.
Good. Like I said earlier, EMERGE 14 Trilogy, just 6 days away at this point. It's getting into that crunch time where it starts to get really exciting.
6 days away or about 30 days late, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But, obviously we got to send props to the guard. They needed to train, and of course we endorse that.
We know going in that's one of the pitfalls. That's one of the, that stuff comes up. So, we can. No harm. It happens.
So, I don't know if you saw the interview I did with Caliber.
I saw bits, yes.
All right. I'm so glad you watch all the content we put out.
Typically, I do. I just have to watch it in chunks. I'm a busy man.
Oh, yeah. You got all the wrestlers
I
to deal
saw
with.
the Dan Dynasty and the piercing part. I saw that part of it, the part that pertained to me.
Yeah, totally. But I kind of want, because, I think you're the most interesting person I could do this with, because you've had a pretty long journey in this business. So give us kind of the Cliff's Notes version, all from the beginning, and then we'll kind of do how EMERGE happened as a separate little thing. But give us your background.
Well, I began wrestling in 1998. I believe.
I was 2.
Yeah, well, I wasn't. But I wrestled for about 5 years. 6 years, something like that. Around 2004, I actually suffered an injury over a weekend. I have some compressed degenerate discs in my neck. And at that time, the doctor told me, you either have to hang it up or have this major operation. And I was like 27, 25, 26. Right. And I thought, I don't want to have a surgery. So I hung it up. But I actually began as a manager, progressed to a wrestler. And then after that, when I couldn't wrestle any longer, I actually ran some shows then under the Midwest Regional Wrestling banner until we lost our building then because of circumstances. So, and then I've stayed active, stayed with guys, made appearances, done some more managing since then. And then the opportunity came up where I was attending a lot of shows and seeing a lot of talented guys out in Indiana who I felt were kind of scattered about and for lack of a better term, were kind of being buried. You had the old guard running these shows, and it was kind of the same group everywhere. It seemed like every show you go to, seemed like the same main events, the same matches, the same title holders. And I thought, you know what? I think something needs to be done about this. There's guys that I think need the exposure. So that's how EMERGE came to be. Was kind of the, you know what? I think Indiana needs a better product. So essentially, the road to EMERGE is almost a 20-year journey. So, yeah. For too long, the face of professional wrestling has become boring and stale. I aim to change that. How you... It was. I mean, because I'm a big fan of a lot of the independent promotions, big fan of Lucha Libre and Puro and all that stuff. And I thought, why does Indiana not have this? Why is our scene was horrible. And I don't mean that with any disrespect, but for fans that like that, there was no options. We had a few groups here and there, but they just didn't last, and they were gone, already, and you had Insanity Pro and groups like that, which were wonderful, but they were no longer around. Right. And and I thought, it needs to be out there. So I thought, why not? I get on with ego or what. I thought, but why not do it? Why shouldn't I do it? Right. I had the connections. I knew the people. So I did. Yeah. So you obviously started way farther ahead than most people would, due to some of the people you already knew and the connections you already had. But because I always stayed in touch. Always went to the shows. Always met the new guys. Right. And I always kept that alive. So, I already had the connections, and I felt people knew who I was. because of my past involvement and everything. And so, yeah, I felt like, I mean, I was, the first step was there.
Right. So not necessarily any form of a how-to guide by any means, but how do you get from point A to point B where, like, I want to do this and then this show is going to happen? Like, how does that kind of shake together? Because I imagine it was hectic.
It was. I think one of the things that sets us apart is we approach EMERGE and run EMERGE like a business.
Right.
Business first, not just, your typical local wrestling promotion. We sat down, I had people working with me, and we wrote a business plan, and we said, these are our goals. This is what we want to be doing in a year. This is what we want to be doing in 3 years. And we didn't, there was no rush. When we first planted these seeds and started talking, we didn't say, okay, let's throw this together and do this next month. We discussed it. It was a good 6 months.
Right.
Like I said, the talent part was not hard. There was guys out there wanting to work. So the first step was to find a building for us. We had the ring and all that. All that was easy. There's plenty of the options out there for that. So, and we always wanted to do it in the Columbus area. So as we looked for a building, though, we just happened to stumble across the Celebrations Event Center in Seymour. We visited, and the ceilings were a little low, but it was an extraordinary place to run a show. Yeah,
Damian Cole had a couple issues at the first show.
Yeah, but Damian Cole always has an issue. He's a bit of a ham. But, and I love the building, and I love the fact that they serve the alcohol for the adults. It had a great atmosphere and feel. Mm-hmm. So we decided that's where we wanted to start.
Yeah, the first show I worked for EMERGE, I worked there.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, and we went, so we went and talked to the owners, and they were all for it. They asked us what we thought we could draw, and our hopes were that we wanted to draw 150 at the first show. And they were ecstatic about that. When there were 300 plus in the door, they were even more ecstatic. So, but yeah, that was the first big step. And once we got that, everything from there, it was just a blur. We knew we wanted to set ourselves apart too, and kind of blaze a trail with the promotion part too. We knew we wanted to be very active in social. It's not, in this day and age, you don't go papering the town with hanging flyers is not your most effective.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not saying it's not important to a degree, but with social media, that's your best promotional tool.
That is word of mouth now. Yeah.
So we wanted to, be very active in that. We wanted to have an active YouTube channel and all those things. So, so that's where it started. It was just a fury of things after that, one right after another.
Yeah, and so part of that is one thing that when I was becoming familiar with EMERGE as a fan, which we were talking just before we started rolling, I was a senior in high school at the time, and so I'm like, okay, I'll support you guys soon. I got to get through that first. And of course, I knew a lot of your wrestlers, which we'll get to that. But one thing that set you guys apart immediately is they have a commentary team, which is not, of course, Justin and Zach, and who Richey and I took over for. And that was just interesting, and that was different. And I find that a lot of times on the indie scene, stuff like that doesn't exist. Like I've walked around. I'll say Bobby Black in particular. I asked him if he had any names, like for any of his moves, if he wanted anything to be called something, because I want to get it right, and I want to add character. And he's like, that never occurred to me. Like,
well, and that's one thing we talk to our guys is you have to build yourself as a brand. Yeah. You have to develop yourself in this day and age.
A business commodity.
Yeah, because you're a product. And whether it's with us or anywhere else, to sell yourself, you have to have these things. You have to, and the little things are what sets you apart, know. And so we're very big on that kind of stuff. We feel just because we run in the Midwest and we're only drawing 300 to 400 fans, that doesn't mean we can't run in a business model similar to some of the bigger companies. Yeah. We can't, we can brand ourselves. We can do these things to set ourselves apart. So the commentary was one of those things that, hey, no one has it. We knew we wanted to do DVD releases. We knew eventually, and we haven't yet, but we're going to get into the video on demand market.
Right.
And the commentary will have to be there. So
for sure,
we wanted to make sure that was implemented from the beginning. And with that, that all ties a lot into podcasts and things, which is how we got with Justin and Zach, because with their podcast.
Yeah.
Because podcast is the new radio. It's
totally, yeah. It's on-demand radio,
right? And that's why we're very active with booking our guys on podcasts. And because it opens up a lot of markets. And
this past Wednesday, Donnie, Ricky, and myself were on a radio show, which posted online. We went to an actual radio station and it posted online.
Right,
and when I tell people that I work for a pro wrestling company, their first thought is, of course he does. Once they get to know my personality, of course this guy does.
Yeah.
But then they're like, are you guys successful? And I tell them, in what we do, it's really awesome to draw 150 fans,
right?
And we generally get over 300. Right, yeah. So that's you mentioned your business plan with year one goals and year three goals. I assume year one goals pretty much met.
We exceeded,
yeah.
We far exceeded. Like I said, we were hopeful for 150 the first show,
right?
And that the doors weren't open that long where we exceeded the 150.
Yeah.
So, we've exceeded. We exceeded in year one what we wanted to do. We didn't foresee bringing in any names, and we did.
Right.
Running Christopher Daniels and Simon Dean. We exceeded what we hoped to do.
Yeah.
The things we wanted to achieve coming out of year one, we're beginning to, those things are happening for us.
Yes.
Just the fact that, as a company, we met our 1-year anniversary is that's a big thing.
Yeah, that's the first year is the hardest. A lot of times.
Of promotions don't do that, and before we know it, we'll be at anniversary 2. It'll be here before we know it. So
when you see all of those fans piling in to celebrations, other than yay, what are your thoughts? I mean, I imagine a lot of it would be pressure.
It was, because the thing is this: you get them in the door, then you have to get them in the door second show.
Right.
You can't just get them in the one time. You have to hook them. But I didn't feel like that was an issue, because I felt like the talent we had, once they saw the matches, that would hook them. Mm-hmm. That once they saw our presentation, that would hook them. That that we're not the same promotion that they've seen in the area before. There's not a lot of talking. There's not a lot of the outside stuff. I've always said that if you want to call this sports entertainment, we focus more on the sports than the entertainment.
Yeah, totally.
Not saying we're not entertaining, but we don't do a lot of talking and all that kind of stuff. We let the matches tell the stories. So
yeah, although ironically, probably the biggest moment of that first show was when JD showed up.
Yeah, JD was a wrestler that we had to appear in the future. We had already made that contact. He was going to wrestle for EMERGE, but he was not supposed to wrestle in EMERGE 1. But apparently him and Nikki, they had other plans and
take your spot, right?
Yeah, and they did, and things like that happen. I get a lot of heat from fans.
Yeah,
because they always want to say, why don't you do something? Why don't you react to that and fix those? Mm-hmm. And number one, I like our problems to be solved in the ring.
Right.
I feel that, I can't suspend everybody. I can't fire everybody. I can't do these things. You know what? So we're going to put them in the ring, and everything will sort itself out.
Right.
And point two, I can't be in the business of undermining my officials.
Yes, for sure.
Whether they make a mistake or not, I can't second guess that. And you have confidence.
We have really good refs, guys like Toby and Jason who know their stuff.
But they have probably the toughest job on the show.
Oh yeah.
And they can't see everything. There's actually a situation kind of stirring right now from the recent Outbreak title match with Chris Caliber and Kenneth James, and something we're looking at. And I've heard that Kenneth James is not happy He believes his foot was under the ropes at the 3 count. I know you guys sitting at ringside said yes. His
and we did call for a replay at that point from our production truck.
And we've looked, and it does. So that'll be something we'll have to address because he's got a legitimate gripe. Does it change the outcome of that match? No. The official made the call, so we'll have to sort it out another way.
And to your point, too, it's not that you say, oh, well, whatever. Like, you deal with things, I've noticed, when they need to be dealt with. Right. The second show that I ever worked was the firing of Zodiac. And that was one of those situations that just got incredibly out of hand. Yeah. And there was no choice at that point but to get rid of him.
Yeah, that was a long-running thing. Lots of warnings, lots of opportunity to get it in check, and he didn't. So, it finally reached the breaking point of that. But, I didn't do that from day one when he first
totally.
Ball,
you gave him every chance, and unfortunately, he's no longer a part of this company as part of that. But so you go to build a roster, and first things first, you sign Donnie Idol, right? Yeah. Why was he your first signing?
Donnie Idol is the wrestler that I am closest to in this business. When Donnie Idol
didn't you two hold gold together? Actually,
when Donnie Idol broke in, he actually managed me. That's how he broke in, and then he transitioned like I did to wrestling, and we teamed, and we held tag team gold. When I ran those first handful of shows back in the day, he was on those. So he is, and I've always known what a talent Donnie Idol is, and how good he is. And I always wanted Donnie Idol to have a bigger stage. So again, whether it be ego or whatever, I thought I'm going to give him that stage, and I want to make sure he has the chance to show what he can do, and he has.
Which, I mean, too, it's not even just because he's your friend. It's this thing where he is your friend and he deserves much better. Right. Where, I mean, there are a lot of guys who it's like, I love you to death.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing, because I have lots of friends in the business that I don't book on our shows. Yeah. And it's hard. It's not hard for me, but it's hard for them to accept the separation of the friendship and the business. I can be friends with someone, but, frankly, some of my friends I don't feel have the talent to be on our shows. And that's, it is what it is. Right. I feel like we have a very high standard. And when we look at booking someone new, there's somebody we're not booking. Right. So I have to say, is this new talent going to be worthy to take this guy's spot? Yeah, exactly. Whether it be for just a show or a handful of shows or permanently. And, it's not necessarily, like I said, because we're friends, but it is because I'm most familiar with him, and I knew that he deserved bigger opportunities. Yeah, exactly.
So as EMERGE, where'd the name come from, first of all?
Just brainstorming names, and I wanted a name that kind of gave an image of rising out of the normality, out of the commonplace. And just EMERGE just popped up.
Yeah, and you have there in pop culture today, there are a lot of those one name impact brands,
and we wanted that kind of thing. I didn't want the initial, your typical wrestling initials. I wanted, like some of the Evolve and the Progress.
Yeah, Evolve is the one that comes to mind.
Like that. I like that one, that impact. It's easier to say EMERGE than EPW or so. EPW can mean a million things, but when you hear EMERGE, you know what you're talking about. So
yes, wrestling over 5-song albums. EP. But so as we obviously flash forward in time quite a bit, but we're headed into EMERGE 14 trilogy. I just want to sort of get your thoughts on number one, where you think EMERGE is at right now, where you think EMERGE can go, and then more specifically some of the things that might be going on right now. But let's start with those two.
As far as where we're going, we're wanting, obviously, to continue to grow. Yes, of course. And the first obstacle in that is we have to look at bigger venues.
Yeah.
We love the venues we use. We just can't fit any more people in them.
Yeah.
And we're turning people away. And I don't want us to be the promotion that just draws 300 to 400 people.
Yeah.
I want us to be the promotion that draws 1,000 people eventually. And to get there,
If something is not building, growing, changing, and evolving, it becomes
Right.
stagnant.
correct. And so that's obviously we're always looking for a bigger venue with more seating. Like I said, we're looking to roll out video on demand. We're looking not necessarily in the near future, but eventually we want to do some pay-per-views and things like that. So we need, we want to bolster our DVD library,
Yeah.
get the turnaround on those a little better. One thing we're always looking at is our merchandising, and we think that's something we can greatly improve on.
Yeah.
We've only just kind of offered T-shirts. There's a lot of room for expansion there. So that's something we're always talking about.
Which props to Donnie at the last show. He's like, I got mugs and I got dog tags and I got.
Donnie knows. He knows how to merchandise himself. He puts it all out there. But that's what you have to do. Again, that goes back to building your brand, and that's what people want. They want to show their support for the company, and that's one way they can do that. So.
Yeah. So. I'll start kind of with 1 month into their existence, you've already had a couple run-ins with the Hellfire Club.
Yeah. Well, I think I've had run-ins with Jeremy Hadley since day one.
Well, yeah, but you've had run-ins with all of them individually before this. But as a unit, obviously, they're more dangerous than ever. Do you worry about possibly the Outbreak title match? Because I think a huge part of why Jeremy might have won that tournament is due to the help of the Hellfire Club. And obviously, Jeremy's a fantastic fighter.
Right, yeah.
But are you concerned at all?
Yes and no. I am concerned because they do have that pack mentality.
Yeah.
I do expect that Cole and Sage will not be far behind in watching that match. It's one of those things that I had to think whether I wanted to be proactive on. But I've decided not to at this point because a lot of that goes back to Chris Caliber. Because Chris Caliber, he has the mentality of if they want to come, bring it. I'll
totally.
take all three of you on.
Yeah, I interviewed him a couple weeks ago, and he's on fire for this match.
Yeah, and plus, and I have faith in Caliber, and I think that he can handle it. And if he doesn't, again, that'll be another situation we'll have to look at and what we do next step on that. If it's one of those things where, again, I don't like to overturn decisions. I don't like to interfere, but I always think of, okay, so this happened. What do I do next then?
Right.
How can I attempt to right this moving forward? So there are concerns, yes, but I have confidence that the match will be a great match, that a winner will arise. And emerge. A winner will emerge, and hopefully without a lot of outside involvement.
Okay, so Anthony Totelli and Kyle Maverick requested each other to go against one another, and so the decision was made to get them into a best of three.
Yeah, there are moments when you're booking matches that you get to be a fanboy.
Yes.
I am huge fans of both these guys. They have nothing but upside and potential. So when they requested this, I thought, oh, yeah, sure, I'll give you each other, but I'm not going to give you each other once. I'm going to give each other 3 times.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's something we've not done that. And sometime where there's so obviously so much respect for one another. Yeah, I thought it was the perfect opportunity to see what's going to happen, because these matches are going to be very, very even. Oh, yeah. So, I think it might take 3 matches for one of them to truly show, come out on top. Yeah, and I was saying last week on the show, I don't care who wins the first match, but whoever wins the first match, I'm straight up rooting against you the second match, because I want this to go to 3. It'll be great. Those are 2 guys that I had on the radar from very early on.
Right.
But being as active as they are, it was it was hard to lock them down. But we finally got them secured in for some dates, and I could not be happier to have them on board. Could not be happier to have them in this series. And I whoever comes out of this series is obviously going to be probably looking at some marquee matches coming out of it when it's all said and done. So
you'd have to think so. Speaking of marquee matches, JD Mariani, Appollo Starr, finishing out the trilogy this month. You were talking earlier about the pack mentality. Of course, I'm of the opinion right now that pretty much, I think at this point, anything JD can throw at Appollo sort of has an answer for.
Yeah. It's since JD inserted himself in EMERGE, he has always been the aggressor.
Yes.
He's even, I think, when he lost to Donnie in the match, he's always been very dominant.
Yeah. And
there's never really been an answer for him. Even when Donnie beat him, it was in the TLC match. Richey had to run some interference there to help keep Jacob Johns out and to keep Nikki out and to put JD through the table so that Donnie could climb. JD has been virtually unstoppable.
Yeah.
Until he met Appollo, and it seems like Appollo has an answer, like you said, for everything.
Yeah, and he's been inching closer and closer, and then every time that something goes wrong for him, the next time he goes against JD, it's been corrected.
Right. Yeah, and I truly think in their first match for the title, had Appollo not stopped and paused to check on Nikki Mariani, I truly think he would have won the title that night. I think he had JD's number. So I'm very much looking forward to this match. Like I said, I feel like that in this series, Apollo is the aggressor here.
Yeah.
And I think it's a weird position for JD.
Yeah.
I think he's used to being the hunter,
foreign.
and he doesn't know how to react to when someone else is coming at him so hard.
So down to, and I last week on the show, I talked about the main event before I talked about this match, because as far as I'm concerned, this match is the most important match in EMERGE history, the crowning of the first women's champion.
Yep.
First of all, at what point was the decision made to insert a women's division into EMERGE?
Day one. We always knew it was going to happen. But we've been very careful to not throw everything at once. We thought, let's save that because that gives us something to unveil and reveal later, and a big thing. But a few months ago, we decided, okay, it's time just to do this. And as the discussions were had of, okay, who's going to be in this? There's obviously a lot of great names out there.
Oh, yeah.
But the first match had to be Nikki and Karma.
Yeah, that has been building for so long.
They've both been with us since day one. That match had to happen before we can move forward. So, and it did. So then when we were looking, okay, how are we going to crown a champion? We really just wanted to have the one match. Let's just put two contenders in there and go at it. Karma was an obvious choice, especially after her win over Nikki.
Yeah.
And I am a huge fan of women's wrestling. I've watched everybody on the scene, everybody in the Midwest, and the name that always stood out was Kelly Klein.
Yeah.
If there is the epitome of the term badass, it is Kelly Klein. And from the moment I saw her, I thought, you know what, I want her in EMERGE. And I knew she was going to be the one. There's a lot of mutual respect between Kelly and Karma. But when that bell rings and it's time for that title, I don't think it's going to be about respect. I think you're going to see probably the hardest fought match that EMERGE has ever seen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's like a few days ago, Kelly released some comments, and when I saw them, I messaged you, and I was like, I thought they liked each other. She seems very aggressive.
Yeah, because that's her style.
Yeah.
It's, you know what, she doesn't care who it is in there. She has one objective, and that is to win. And
Karma, same way.
Yeah, it is. And Karma has no quit in her.
No.
So when you have somebody like Kelly Klein, who is constantly on the attack, constantly pounding away, and you have somebody like Karma who will never quit.
Yeah, and knows how to adapt.
Right, and it's going to be a spectacular. I can't wait to see.
Which the first time I saw Kelly Klein was in January at ROH. We were at the same show,
right.
And then a couple months later, like you had announced Kelly Klein, and I was like, I recognize that name from somewhere.
Yeah.
And then Ring of Honor posted the video of the match from that night. I'm like, it's the same person.
Yep.
There's me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, she's I've seen her several times since she's broke in. She came kind of through the Cincinnati scene, and she's always been great. But here lately, she's really hitting her stride, and she's always one. Like I said, we wanted. It's perfect time to get her. Like I said, just coincidentally, she has that match for the Emerge title, and then the next night she's on the pre-show for the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. I mean,
which we're both going to.
That's right. Yeah. But I mean, what better? How can you have a better talent?
No, for sure. Yeah.
For your women's championship than someone who's going to compete on that big of an ROH show.
Yeah, and it's not about bringing in local people or people's friends. It's about bringing in the best, and that's one of the reasons I was so drawn to Emerge. And now I'm just lucky enough to work. And people are like, "What do you make from that?" And obviously, I'm not going to say it right now, but I would say whatever I do make, add $10 to it because I get in for free. So as we sort of switch gears here and head into the next segment, I've been doing this thing where I've been calling up the Emerge guys and I want them to do things. We had Cole Radrick reading Goodnight Moon, for instance, last show, which was beautiful.
Twisted.
Yeah, the kid doesn't have a brain. Like, I feel like he just does things,
He does, yeah.
But one guy who's very methodical, knows exactly what he's doing at all times, another member of the Hellfire Club, Jeremy Hadley. And I asked Jeremy if he would be interested in doing something on this show. And so he told me he wants to show his nicer side. And so I assume, because I've heard this backstage, I know you've heard this backstage, Jeremy has the whole, I don't care if you like me because I don't like you thing, but he also maintains that he has a lot of fans.
Yeah.
And so he told me he's going to read all of his fan mail from his adoring fans
that'll be fun
on the show. So I guess without further ado, here is fan mail with Jeremy Hadley.
Welcome, losers and failures of Emerge Wrestling's fan base. They have called on me for the Emerge Showcase to read you all the fan letters that I get in my email. So without further ado, I'm going to start with this first one. This guy's name is Joey. Longtime fan, first time writing in. Jeremy Hadley, I have been following you at Emerge Wrestling for the past year or so. You are my favorite wrestler ever, and I just want to say that your DDT on Karma inspired me. Hear that? Inspired him. My question is, really, why'd you do it? I didn't do it. She stepped out of the kitchen. Why wouldn't I do it? But the fact is, she put her nose where it didn't belong. She was in my ring. So I grabbed her by her bleach blonde hair and I dropped her on her head. And given the opportunity, which I will have on May 7th, I'll do it again. But now let's move on to the next email. Oh, the guy's name is Gage. He says, longtime wrestling fan, first time writing in. Jeremy Hadley, I have followed your career for years. I actually used to go watch you wrestle in Indianapolis at a place called Insanity Pro Wrestling. Some of you might remember that. Anyway, my question is, why are you so awesome? Well, honestly, it's just who I am. That's just me, naturally. I don't have necessarily an answer for it. It's just the way it is. I'm great, and no one in Columbus, Indiana will ever be that. But don't worry, Gage. Look at me. Look right here. Gage, as long as you never move to Columbus, Indiana, you can succeed in life. Okay, let's move on to the next email. It's from a guy named Andy. It says, Jeremy Hadley, you are a despicable human being. Anybody who would DDT a Okay, this guy's obviously a loser. Probably from Columbus. Probably never moved out of his parents' house. We're going to move on. The next one, and this is the final email I'm going to read you because I don't have 6 hours to read you every email. It's a man named Aaron. Dear Jeremy Hadley, longtime wrestling fan, first time writing in. I have been a huge fan of yours for the past year. Before that, my favorite was Chris Caliber, but then I saw you, and suddenly, all I wanted to do was watch Jeremy Hadley matches. I became your #1 fan last August, and I just gotta ask, what was it like to be the greatest Outbreak champion ever? And how is it gonna feel May 7th when you take that title back from Chris Caliber? It's gonna feel amazing. So amazing that once I'm done with him, I'll grab his wife and I'll give her a DDT on the outside of the ring just to make sure I break her neck too. And I want to make this clear. After I get that title, Donnie Idol, I'm never giving you a shot because you don't deserve it. So, that wraps up all these emails that I was told to read to you. I could read 1,000,000 more, but the fact is I don't have the time and the phone battery would probably die. So I'm gonna say this. May 7th, Columbus, Indiana, I'm destroying Chris Caliber. I'll destroy the whole Caliber family. And Donnie Idol, if you rear your ugly head, if my boys don't take care of you first, don't worry. I will.
Hello, this is Richey Stevens, and I just wanted to remind you guys to get all of your Emerge merchandise at emergewrestling.com. We have t-shirts, DVDs, and our tickets are available for Emerge events. You don't want to miss out on these awesome deals. Check them out.
All right, I am up here in the Circle City with the guy who, if you missed our prediction show last week, go and watch that for sure. But the guy who I predicted May 7th, I believe this is our next Emerge champion. This being Poison Appollo Starr. What's up, man?
What's up, Case? How you doing, man?
I'm good. They're doing great as well.
Yeah. It's party over here.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're up here in Indianapolis. Wanted to get a chance. When we decided to do these shows, I wanted to take this opportunity to really get in depth with some of our fighters here in Emerge. And considering, you're getting title shots left and right, you've been incredibly successful. I wanted to get an opportunity to really talk with you, get a little bit in depth with you. So tell us, I guess, the Starr story, I guess. Where did this all start?
It started about 15 years ago. I was in New York with a friend of mine named Keith Miller. He had run a couple of shows in the area around here before. And we were just guys who wanted to be in the wrestling business. Mm-hmm. And there was promotion in Rochester. It may have been 2CW, maybe not. I remember there was a promotion in Rochester, and we used to go see indie guys in New York.
Right.
Dude named Johnny Walker, Ormond Tortuga, Chip Stetson, Hellcat, bunch of East Coast, upstate New York, independent guys. And we used to go to these shows, and I was going to try to get trained by H.C. Loke at that school, and it didn't work out for me. So I got taught a couple things by this guy named Vinny Ferrari, who was a manager in the area up in New York. And he trained me a little bit, and I had my first match based on my training with Vinny Ferrari. And Penn York Wrestling is run by a guy named Don Adams up in New York. And And I had my first match in New York 15 years ago against Elvin Soul. They were called Elvin and Jack Soul. They were the Soul Brothers as opposed to the Blues Brothers, and they had a Blues Brothers gimmick, and it was cool. And he beat the crap out of me, and that was my first match. You know what I mean?
All right. So obviously, jumping pretty far ahead in this story, I'm going to ask you sort of the same question I asked Chris Caliber, which is, what attracted you to Emerge?
To Emerge Wrestling?
Yeah.
Well, they had a couple of shows before I got involved, and I heard the buzz, man. You know, it was all over the state. Everybody was talking about this new company. They're drawing all these people. The fans are crazy and excited. And I was like, man, I got to get there. And I've been friends with Donnie Idol and Ricky Ruckus for a while. So I contacted them. I was like, my man, what's going on in Emerge? And they were like, we've been talking to Dave Dynasty. He wants to bring you in. And I think I made my debut at Emerge 3, I believe.
I'll have to fact check this.
Yeah.
Right here is it'll say correct or incorrect.
Right. I believe it was Emerge 3.
So you've been incredibly successful in Emerge, and you've had obviously more than your fair share of run-ins to this point with JD, and we'll get to that. But with the experience you've had in Emerge, almost a year on the roster now, what do you think kind of sets Emerge apart from maybe some of the other places that you work?
Mainly, I think it's the fans. It's a different. We have a different talent roster than a lot of the wrestling shows in the area, but it's mainly the fans. Those fans are crazy. Like I have a certain way about me. Yeah. And sometimes fans take to me, and sometimes they don't. You know what I mean? And it can happen either way. And as soon as I came in there, they took to me right away, and it just they made me feel at home. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So.
Where it's like you aren't a good guy, you aren't a bad guy. You're Apollo. You're just
I do my thing, and I take how it comes. You know what I mean?
And I mean, obviously the fans are crazy. The beautiful fans that are watching this on youtube.com/Emerge Pro Wrestling. But I've heard people ask Dave before if he misses wrestling, and he says, no, when I walk out at the beginning of the show, that's all I need. And it really is like, it's, the crowd is so pumped up, and I'm not positive that I have ever seen a crowd so into a match, with the exception of maybe a couple matches, as the tables match just a couple months ago. And we get into this where you and JD have had this issue now for months. You got your first title shot in Emerge 5.
Yes.
And through shenanigans, JD won that match. You never really got to have your rematch, because the next month he actually lost it to Donnie in the TLC match. But if we look through the history of Emerge, JD has never cleanly 1-2-3 beaten you. And I mean, as we head into Emerge 14 trilogy, where you engage in your third match, one-on-one with JD, what are you expecting heading into the match?
Well, I don't look at it that way. I see it as, in the first match, I made a mistake. And he capitalized on that mistake like champions do, and I got beat, by the better guy. I made a mistake, he capitalized on it, and I got beat. Now, in the second match, I got a different feeling for it. You know what I'm saying? Because the second match, I had him. I put him away. I hit him, with the Dirty Genie, my version of the Shining Wizard. He was down 1-2, and Jacob Johns came down and pulled me off. So, I feel like I have his number. You know what I'm saying? And I have a lot of different skills. If you notice, I was trained by American kickboxer. Big up Kick. What up? Raise the Dojo. One love. And you know what I'm saying? And we learn lucha, and we learn Japanese style, and we learn Memphis style, and we learn all different types of wrestling.
You definitely, hybrid is the word I was going to use there. You definitely got a lot of different styles. So let me pose this question to you. One-on-one, let's say nobody's there.
Right.
All right, hypothetical situation. Nobody is around that ring. No outside interference. And I feel like I know the answer to this, or you wouldn't be in the position that you're in.
Exactly.
But one-on-one fair contest, do you think JD can beat you?
I feel, well, let me say this. One-on-one fair contest, JD can beat anybody. You know, so I'm here to be the best in Emerge. I've never been shy about that. I've always said I'm here to be the best. Thing is, the way this business works, there's this thing that you gotta have to be the best.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it, then you're just talking. You feel me? So right now he's the best, but I feel like I can take him. You know, I've always felt that, and I feel like in a fair contest, me and him, I feel like I can take him. And I know he's a monster, and I know what he's done. I've known JD Mariani for a long time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I guess we could even talk about that later. I've known him for a long time. I know what he does. He knows what I do. But I feel like when it comes down to it, you know, my skills against his skills, I feel like I can beat him. And I will. I'll beat him on May 7th.
So you mentioned your familiarity with JD. What do you think it says about a guy like him, where you just said one-on-one you think JD can take anybody? What do you think it says about him, and I guess maybe his mindset, where he relies on Jacob Johns and his wife and at other times BAD to I don't want to say fight his battles for him, but maybe finish the battles?
You know, I've known JD for a long time.
Right.
And he was always a confident dude. And he was always a warrior who he'd take his victories or his losses. And the only difference between then and now is that evil woman he's got, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, she got her... Love is a tricky thing, bro.
Right.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Love is a tricky thing, man. And she took that love, you know, and made him better and made him confident. And it's a wicked woman that can take something like that and then turn it evil. And I knew JD Mariani before, and I know him now. And that's not the same guy I used to know. This cat is evil now, and it's all because of her. You know what I'm saying? She got her clutches in him. She got to his heart, and she can turn it black, and she can turn it. She's got him under her spell. You feel me? And that's not my problem anymore. My worry is taking him down on May 7th.
Right.
But the difference is now that she just made him more evil, and she made him a monster, dude. She made him a monster, and it's been good for him, and it's been bad for everybody else.
Right.
And I feel like I can be the guy that can take him out, you know what I'm saying, for the Emerge Nation and for everybody else. And I'm going to on May 7th.
So when you had these two matches, both kind of play out the same way, in a sense, then you brought in some help in the form of Remy, who you have an incredible history with. Some, I think to some of the Emerge fans, it might have been a situation where sort of this guy's coming in, apparently he's Apollo's friend. Talk a little bit about Remy and your history with him. And
well, Remy is, as you've seen, Remy is one hell of an athlete.
Oh yeah.
And he's one of the younger wrestlers. He's also trained at Billy Rocks a while ago, and you know, he's
a lot of good people coming out. Good
guys coming out of Billy's. Billy's training good guys. We ran into Remy a couple years ago, and we just linked up. You know, we got some similar interests, and we start traveling together. He, myself, and Drew Skills. We're the Circle City Collabo. As well as we're also affiliated with Trevor Court. Trevor Court has come in and out of the business, but Trevor Court is Circle City Collabo too, and we're a crew. You know what I mean? And we go to promotions and we wrestle and we work hard, and he's my guy. You know what I mean? So when I had some drama, I like to run on my own, but I ain't no fool. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I saw that the odds were against me, so I went and got my homeboy, and we handle business. You know what I mean?
So when the odds are even, the two teams clash in an epic tables match main event at Emerge 12 Consequences, and that match scared the crap out of me for most of it. At one point, I was sitting there and I look up and Jacob Johns is headed toward me, and 5 seconds later he was sitting in the chair that I had been sitting in. And of course, Jacob Johns ended up taking the long way down through the table. So when the odds are even, not even necessarily in a single situation, but in a tag situation, I think you've shown that you are more than up to the task when the odds are even.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Look, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I'm serious about mine. You feel me? And I want this title, and I'm coming to get it. JD Mariani, I'm coming to get this title. You know what I mean? And I had an issue, and I went and got my homie, and we handled the issue. I'm not a tables match guy. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's not my deal. I'm a wrestler. I'm a mat wrestler.
I remember you walking into the DSI gym, and you had said to people, I don't plan on going through a table tonight.
That's not really my deal, but sometimes when it get dirty, you get dirt on you. You feel me? And that's what happened. It got dirty, and we got dirt on ourselves, and we had to get that way, because sometimes you got to get how it is. You feel me? And I just feel like we stood tall in the tag team situation, and I've got him on his heels, man. You know what I mean? I got him on his heels. I feel like May 7th is the night that I take that belt away from him and end his reign of terror from the top.
And from the way it's looking, the odds headed in are incredibly even. And honestly, it's in any time that JD is wrestling, it's like, who knows what you're gonna see? Right. Is Nikki gonna do something? Is Jacob Johns gonna do something? Is what's going on? But we're in a situation now where I think, and this is obviously my opinion here, but no matter what happens, I think you have an answer for it this time, because Remy is going to be at the show. He's taking on Jacob Johns earlier. That's right. So and that's one of those blood runs thick kind of things. If Jacob Johns comes out in there and tries to get in this match, Remy's going to be there.
Right, I got my brothers there.
And so it is my personal opinion that, I think Emerge 14 is it. There is nothing, I think, standing in your way of taking this title, and I wholeheartedly believe that you are going to do that and hold the, by the way, beautiful Emerge Championship.
Oh, that's a gorgeous belt. That belt is gorgeous. From the first time I saw it, I was like, man, I got to have that thing. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? It was so embarrassing. The first match, he had it, remember, he kept it in a bag, and I got on the mic, and I was like, I'm going to take this belt out of the bag for you fans, and I was so excited, and I thought it was going to happen. Yeah. But I had that mental lapse. I climbed up, and she grabbed my leg. That woman again. You know what I mean? She grabbed my leg, and I kicked her down, and she fell violently. And then you met my mom earlier. Yeah. And it was just in my head. She was like, you kicked that woman. You know what I mean? And for a second, I just, I went to my instincts and I checked on her. And then by the time I got it back together, because the fans were like, go, what are you doing? What are you doing? So by the time I got it back together, I went back to the top, and he was ready for me, man. He caught me, hit me with the big Samoan off the second rope, and it put me away. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's no shame in getting beat by a monster. You feel me? But it's not gonna happen again.
And
I got to figure it out.
You've already tasted some gold, more or less, in Emerge.
Indeed.
Having won the tournament just a few months ago,
right.
Which we were talking before we started recording about how, unfortunately we had to cancel an event in December, and I don't think the E8 tournament was exactly what we all had in mind, but it was a great night of action.
Indeed.
Because I see where it's my opinion, and I said this on the showcase last week when we did our predictions, where this show has somehow gotten better, I think, from being postponed. Like, they, obviously some people weren't available and they had to tweak some matches and stuff.
Small
and then
changes here and there.
I'm like, this got better, and including, it's not just you. We've got the third match between Caliber and Hadley.
Right.
We've got Kelly Klein and Karma.
What's up, Kelly? just saying hi.
And and to start it off, we've got the match that, no offense to your match or any of the other matches, I'm looking forward to Totelli and Maverick.
Oh, that's going to be on fire.
And it's just, it goes to show you cannot miss an Emerge event.
You can't. You got one of the most popular tag teams in the Midwest right now.
Yeah.
The 8 Big Punks.
Oh, my Lord.
The Emerge Tag Team Champions are in the pre-show match.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That shows you how good this card is.
Yeah, that's how stacked this card is. Totelli and Maverick. I'm not only am I excited about going to win the Emerge title, but I'm excited to see the show. There's exciting things. My man Trevor is in the 4-way. You know what I mean? And it's going down. My man Remy is in there. He's going to hopefully take Jacob Johns all the way out. That way I ain't even got to worry about him poking his nose in my match. And it's just on fire, man. Emerge is on fire right now.
So, right there in that last sentence or so, you came into what my next question was going to be, which is, as we sort of rounded out here, where do you think Emerge is at right now? And like I asked this question, Caliber, you can tell what the next question is going to be after that, but where do you think Emerge is at right now?
Emerge is in a good place. They're packing the buildings you're in. I mean? There's no better than that. You're packing the buildings that you're in. You got a strong, rabid fan base. You got guys trying to get in. You got talented workers already, and you got talented wrestlers trying to get in. And it's a beautiful thing, man. It's in a really good place.
So, headed toward the future, you've been around this business a long time.
Yes, sir.
You've seen a lot of things come, you've seen a lot of things go, and you've seen a lot of things stay.
Right.
And as we head toward the next couple of years of Emerge, where, in your veteran's opinion, do you see this company going?
To the top, man. I see us getting in bigger buildings and filling those buildings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just, 1,000 people crowds, 1,500 crowds, it can happen. Because the interest is growing.
Yes.
People are always asking about it. People are always asking how to get tickets. I'm always sending people where to get tickets, and they've heard about it. It's on fire, and people want to know, what the talk is all about. You know what I mean? And I think it'll just keep growing and growing, man.
Yeah, and every month is a fantastic card.
Right.
And every time we do our prediction show, I'm like, this is it. There's no way that they can top this. And then somehow the next one, it's like,
it even got better.
And Emerge 14 looks like it's going to be the best show yet. Tickets obviously still available at EMERGEWrestling.com, and we hope to see all of you there to see this guy, in my opinion, win the title. You got a bunch of other matches, and of course be there for the pre-show as well, as the 8-Bit Punks defend their title against two School of Rock guys.
More School of Rock guys,
Luke Lawson and Mance Warner. So
I've seen those kids too, and they're skilled beyond their years because they're brand new. Like they're like 1-2 years in, and they're solid kids. That's gonna be a good match, definitely.
Yep. So if you're thinking about coming, definitely go go ahead and get your tickets now,
Right.
because there is no guarantee. As a matter of fact, I would go so far as to say it's pretty likely there won't be any tickets
Right,
day of.
right. You may be hit already.
You take one look at this card, you understand why it might sell out, and that's not me talking as an employee of Emerge. That's me talking as a fan.
Right.
I'm excited as a fan for this show. Apollo, thank you
All
for
right,
your
brother.
time.
JD Mariani on May 7th. Emerge 14 trilogy. Your reign of terror is over, brother, and I'm coming to take my spot at the top of Emerge Championship Wrestling. Believe that.
And the next time you see us, we will be recapping what happens this Saturday at Emerge 14. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Emerge Wrestling Showcase here on Emerge's YouTube channel, youtube.com/Emerge Pro Wrestling. If you like this, of course, be sure to put a like on the video, comment on it, and subscribe. Also, share it with your friends. Of course, we want everybody to be a part of this company, and that is all that we have for you this week. For my fallen colleague Richey Stevens, my name is Casey Johnson. We'll see you guys next week.
Triple C's.